Carolyn Letvin. I'm a painter and I'm also a printmaker. And I'm here to show you a technique that makes printmaking so easy for painters. You need to have very few additional tools beyond your regular painting kit. And I use it as a plein air painter. I really like to paint on site and out in the environment, and this process allows you to be a plein air printmaker. It also works very well for regular printers, people who are printers and think like printmaking. But the way I use it as a painter is to do plein air and on-site printmaking. These are 3 examples of plein air printmaking. Full palette. What I'm going to show you today, single value studies. These 2 still lifes were done on site with live lighting and little elements. And you can also work from photographs and print from photographs. No press necessary. That's really the key here, no press necessary, everything is portable. And like I said, regular printmakers can also use this technique when they don't have access to a press. This was done by a friend of mine who used rollers and raffia, little things, and this is a printmaker thinking process. I'm going to be using a single value today, one color, just black, but having a full color palette is very possible and wonderful. Your results are magical. The reason that a printmaker would work with, the reason that a painter would work with printmaking is that it's a very fresh and spontaneous technique. When you flip the piece, when you peel it, it's backwards. It changes your strokes, so you get this wonderful surprise element. You also have to work a little more quickly and a little more on the surface. It's not a build-up technique, it's one layer, and then you print. So let's get started. The process is I do a painting, that takes a while, and when it's finished, I take it to my press bed where I place the painting down, take a damp sheet of paper, put it over my painting, make sure that it won't slip. I use either a wooden spoon or this palm press or even my hand, depending on what your objectives are, and you pull a print. That is the whole process. The best surface to use for this process is plexiglass. Doesn't matter what the thickness is either. The thick or the thin will give you a really nice edge. It's better than glass. Glass can break when you're pushing on it. Wood, if it's a standard wood cut, the edges will break down. It does work for white line wood cut because the lines are very thin and it doesn't break down when you press. Copper is also a great surface. You can't see through it, but it prints in a different quality. It's really quite beautiful and has almost an old master quality. So these are the surfaces I use. The key to this whole process for oil painting and any other painting process is a slow dry medium. For oil paint, it's Galkid Slow Dry. This is so that your paint doesn't set up too quickly. It retards the drying. If you're using watercolor, you would have your own particular retarder. I'm an oil painter, this is what I know. You can experiment with many different retarders depending on your medium. This is what I use for oil paint. The other things that you need, and they're very easy to come by, are the plates. Plexi works best. You've got your oil paint, you've got your brushes, your whole plein air kit is what you use. So really the only additional key is the Galkid Slow Dry. It's time for me to start painting now. We're going to pretend we're plein air. We're at a kind of a marshy riverside, and this is what we're going to be painting today. The nice thing about plexiglass is that you can see through it. So what I usually do is I take a piece of tracing paper or newsprint, and I do a very quick sketch just to give me kind of the knowledge of where to start and what I'm going to do. And that's happening here. A little bit of water. So that's just about all I would do, because I want to get to painting. Light changes fast when you're outdoors. So now I've got my paint here, my palette. I've got tools to remove paint. You can use Q-tips, paper towel, even these little rubber tip paint removers that you use in your oil painting that squish things around. They are great. Breaking a Q-tip in half, the little Q-tip point makes a really nice tool to remove paint. So I've got that ready. Got to have a lot of Galkid Slow Dry in our paint when we first start, because our first strokes are going to dry faster than anything else. Of course, they'll be on the surface longer. So I'm going to take a roller, because this is what I like to do, is take my roller and actually do the painting with the roller. Maybe start with the darks, because I've got a lot of paint on my roller. So this is where I'm going to start with the darks, textures, and just like in regular painting, we don't draw with our brush, right? We hold it and twist it and turn it in different angles so that our strokes are interesting. It's all about the paint. It's not really about the scene. It's about the surface. And printmaking has an interesting surface quality, and you want to maintain those marks that create super duper interest, because it's the marks that make it happen. For the opportunity for that to happen. Of course, I'm like a machine. My hands do the same mark over and over and over. I don't know if you have that issue, but I do all the time. See, now this tip removes really well for making definitive shapes, like maybe a real light water. And it takes a water reflection, it really takes off the paint right down to the surface. So it's really white. During this process, you have to have darkest darks and light lights. I'm getting okay up here. Ooh, that can happen, right? You want that in the sky. I'm gonna go over top of some marks that I made on the front. Watching somebody paint may or may not be like watching paint dry. So now, if I'm about ready to print, I want to deal with my paper. Yeah, I'm good, I think. I've got darks, got some lights. It's kind of marky, and so my paper, how do I determine my paper wetness? Well, I like my paintings fairly crisp. So I don't want to soak my paper too very long. I get my paper off a roll, and it's got a curve. And what I do is soak my paper until the curve goes away. I bring a little water, or just enough to get your paper wet, till the curve goes away. So then we're outdoors. I do hurry it along to dry. Water the grass a little bit. Our paint's fine. It'll stay wet. It's oil. Oil sets up pretty quickly, though. That's why we need the Galkit slow dry. Especially darks. For CADs, you don't even need Galkit slow dry because it takes 3 days for that paint to even have a semblance of dryness. Now I want to pick the clean side. So I'm going to lay my paper right where I think it's going to be in the center, sort of. Flop this over, and I'm going to use the palm press today because it makes for a very effective print. You often can't tell that it didn't go through a press. Hear that clicking over the edge? That's going to give me a print edge, a mark, an indentation that indicates you've made a print. You don't have to lean heavy, but it's not one of these, right? You just put a little muscle on it, all different ways, back and forth. You can turn this. Just don't run over your fingers. Can you see the edge coming up here? That tells me that this is just about done. It doesn't take long. And I can peel back to see if I've gotten an image, an impression. And here's my print. Voila. Thanks for joining me today. This is my palm press process. I'd love to pass it on. I would love it if you would check out my website, carolynletvin.com. And I'm also on Instagram as Letvin Carolyn. I do have palm presses for sale. I have them made and I sell them. But again, you don't need it, it's not necessary. You can just go out and make some marks and make some great prints. Thanks for watching. I wanted to mention one more thing about the Monotype process. The difference between a Monotype and a Monoprint is simply a definition, a difference about the surface. A Monotype simply has a smooth, completely smooth surface that when you rub off whatever you were painting or printing, the surface is completely smooth and nothing remains. A Monoprint will have something either incised, gouged, or glued onto the plate that every time you use that surface, that will be repeated in any other print that you make. That's the difference between a Monotype and a Monoprint. Thank you for watching my demo. I hope you can check out my website at carolynletvin.com and also my Instagram site at Letvin